The Rebel Capitalist Show.
Chris Martinson, we were talking about this before we started recording, was at an event I did this week in a mastermind group, and he was talking about some of the dynamics there with the World Economic Forum and their kind of great reset agenda, I guess we'll call it,
Yeah.
and this 2030 thing where you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. I know when that first came out, I was giving that a lot of thought, like how if we own nothing, you and I, well, then someone has to own the stuff we're renting.
Exactly.
And so that most likely would be the global elite. But I think a lot of people have a hard time kind of connecting the dots. Like, how do we go from where we are right now in the United States to owning nothing? Have you given that any thought?
Oh, I've given that quite a bit of thought, and especially when you read the documents about, and the examples from the IMF about how titles can be held on a coin and then the equity broken down into easily spendable amounts. So now, and everything is held on your phone, right?
Right.
And we have really been guided to short-termism. So I see this mug and I want it right now, and I have my phone and I know I have equity on there. I've got money, I can buy it. And before you know it, then people voluntarily spend all of their equity. That's what they've been guided to do.
That's
And
a good
what do you
theory.
think?
Yeah, that's a great
Oh,
theory, Lynette. I've never thought of that.
oh,
Yeah, that's
well,
fascinating.
I mean, I'll see if I can dig it up for you. But yeah, I mean, they even have diagrams on how they would get people to do this and everything. So that's how they do it. It may take a bit of time because they have to be patient, but hey, look at how far they've come. And then sometimes you have a crisis that speeds up this shift. But yeah, they really don't want you to own anything, and then they control everything. And once they control everything, and you've spent it, so who do you complain to? You made that choice, even though perception management guided you to making that choice. Yeah, that's how they do it. They get you to volunteer it.
How do you think they'll roll out a central bank digital currency in the States?
Well, interestingly enough, they brought that out. They actually set up all of those accounts, the Federal Reserve did, in all of the banks, post offices, credit unions, every place. So they've already opened and announced the FedNow account, even though they don't have the currencies yet. They don't have the CBDC. Why do that? They're like 3 years ahead of themselves in this announcement and all of that. So they're already set up, and I think that the way that they do it is by making a deposit of digital currencies and saying, here you go. Now you have to spend it here and here and here, and you can't spend it there or there. But, look at what China did. You give it away, get people used to it. And in China's case, if they're not particularly comfortable with it or they prefer a different digital currency, then you kind of, smash that. So now use of the digital yuan explodes. So I think that's the way they'll do it. Everybody's got a digital account, whether you realize it or you don't, at your bank, at your credit union, and for those areas that are really remote, at the post office. And they just make a deposit, and here's free money. Go
UBI.
spend it. Yep.
UBI. So every
UBI.
single month. That's the incentive.
That is. That, and they may not go directly to a monthly thing at first. They may just start out with a deposit of whatever, and you have to use it by such and such a date. But that's how they'll do it. They'll give it away, and people go, wow, free money. Okay.
Yeah. You probably won't 99% of the average Americans, you're not going to have to twist their arm for that. If all they have to do is download an app, even you say, well, wait a minute, you might not want to do that. You're going to give all your privacy to the Fed, and they're not going to care about that at all.
No. All they're going to see is the free money.
What do you think about this gal, Omarova? Have you researched any of her ideas?
No.
Okay, so she's this gal, and I forgot her official title. I think comptroller of the currency, or something
Oh,
like that.
okay.
She's someone that Biden nominated. I'm not sure if she's actually has the job yet or not. I think she does. But she's came out with a paper and she's kind of expressed all of her ideas. She is someone that is really in favor of a central bank digital currency, first and foremost. But that's not where her, let's say, creative ideas end. She's also someone that's very sympathetic to communism, the communism they had specifically in Russia. And she's also talked about how we should, or the Fed, the central planners, should micromanage things to a degree which they should actually control the S&P 500. So this is a world where...
Well, I think I'm going to be reading a lot about her after this conversation, George.
Yeah, you probably want to do some videos because her ideas are just absolutely insane, but they're becoming very popular. And, if this is who the administration is hiring, they're surrounding Janet Yellen. And let's say we have Lael Brainerd next at the Fed. So these MMT gals, and then you combine that with Omarova. I mean, this could go south really quick. But going back to that idea she has, or what she stated as what we should have as policy, is if the S&P 500 gets up to a level where the central planners think that it's too high, she actually thinks that the Fed should come in and short the market. And then if it gets too low, then the Fed should come in, or the Treasury, if their balance sheets are combined by this time. And then the central planners should come in and buy the stock market to bring the S&P 500 back up to a level that they think is just perfect.
Oh my God.
I knew you'd get a kick out of that.
Oh my God, George. I mean, I was there in 1987 on Black Monday. I was there, and that's when they came out with the plunge protection team. So look, who doesn't know that the central banks aren't already, neck deep in managing these markets? But, it always scares me when they get really overt about it, which they did after 2008.
They get arrogant to the point where they just, okay, now we're just going to throw it out there. We don't care who knows about it because this is the agenda and this is what we're doing.
And exactly. I mean, that is really, really, really scary. Because part of it, and this is such a big thing, the stock markets are valued in terms of dollars.
Right.
In this country or wherever that stock market is, it's valued in terms of the government currency. So they can make it, and they already do, they're just not as overt perhaps, but they already manipulate it to a huge degree. The interest rates, the stock markets, the derivative markets, the real estate markets. I mean, everything is about financial repression and creating and maintaining those bubbles.
Yeah.
So,
and think about that too, Lynette, because if they're trying to manage let's say the S&P 500, what's their metric? Like, is 5,000 too high? Is 10,000? And then you'd have to say, well, it's got to be adjusted for inflation. But what if their measurement for inflation is wrong? I mean, you just think about the unintended. Yeah. So yeah, exactly. If they're using the CPI, then that's going to understate inflation. Therefore, who knows what they're thinking the S&P should be. That's not even going to be the right number, even if they could micromanage it. And then you just think of the unintended consequences and how this further distorts the economy. And then I always go back to thinking, okay, well, does this create an environment where we're making more goods and services or less? Because that's what true wealth is. And you just say, wow, that's a road, that's a slippery slope.
It's a huge slippery slope. And when you really stop and think about it, all you can do is convert those shares that you have into the fiat. So at the end of the day, when people lose confidence in the fiat, in the currency, then what do they go to? They go to tried and true currency. Yeah. Do they want you to be thinking about that? No. They want you to be electronic. They want you to be intangible. They want you to be things that are easy for them to manipulate. But how can they even determine that? we already don't have a free market. Oh my God, George.
Yeah, I know I hit you with that one out of right field. You're like, I think I rattled you there with that whole
You did.
with Omarova.
But that's why I love you, you know.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry about that, but I'm excited that
No,
now you know
I'm
about
glad.
it. I know you're
Thank
going to
you.
dive into it, and you're going to see the horror show that is the Biden administration. And I don't want to pick on them. I mean, it's
Oh.
all the politicians, all the central planners on the right and left.